All right, we are on air.
Sweet.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
All right. Welcome to an Empire. Well, let's start that over again.
Okay.
Welcome to the Pulse Awakens
Yeah.
after a 1 week hiatus in which we were just too busy to do the Sports Pulse last week. We return.
Yeah, life caught up with us.
Sans Sean McNiff, who apparently can't do today. I don't know what he's doing or where he's at.
Probably work, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I mean, we originally scheduled for 5, and he didn't say that he
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he
had any
got
problems there until today.
maybe he got caught up. Who knows?
Yeah, but anyway, we are back on the air, um, and starting things off is the March of the Republic Star Wars theme song.
Yeah.
Um, Composed by the one, the only John Williams.
Was it Chris Griffin says in the Family Guy episode, John Williams and the London Symphony Orchestra, everybody.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I think of every time I hear the Star Wars music.
And actually, when I was writing the description for the episode today, I had the March of the Emperor in my head, playing in my head.
Been stuck in everybody's head, I think. I think all the Star Wars music has been stuck in everyone's head for the last week or so.
Yeah, and last night, the Cavaliers played the March of the Empire.
Of course they did.
During the introductions, I think it was during the OKC Thunder introductions, which makes sense. Yeah, I think pretty much every team does that.
You want to label the bad guys as the bad guys,
right? But in some cases, teams may embrace that.
I love it.
Daunting music. They kind of use it as an intimidation factor.
I like it a lot. I personally think that any Star Wars music that anybody wants to use at any point in time just is perfect. I feel like there's Star Wars music for every situation in life.
Yes.
It's definitely true.
But speaking of Star Wars, Brian, you went and saw it today.
Yes.
Here's your spoiler-free, and I can't stress this enough, spoiler-free Star Wars review.
If at any point it seems like I've given away anything, please stop me. But I'm gonna try and keep this.
I should bleep you out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not gonna say anything too incriminating, but I will say that everybody needs to see this movie, and everybody needs to see this movie now. It is one of the few movies that I can say I've seen in a very long time that, I mean, people have been hyping up Star Wars The Force Awakens for over a year now. I mean, the trailers have been coming out fast and furious. People have been getting very excited. And everybody was afraid that this movie would completely bomb and just be terrible. And myself included in that because, this is the first Star Wars movie in 7 years. And a lot of people thought that this movie wouldn't even happen ever again after the last Star Wars movie.
Right. I certainly thought that we were done with the Star Wars franchise, but I believe there's 21 books of Star Wars, and so we could. I mean, obviously, there's going to be another trilogy, but we could see a few more trilogies, 4 more trilogies, come over the next, I guess, 50 years or so. I don't know.
Well, Star Wars could, the thing about it is now we can pass it down from generation to generation at this point, because there's a generation of kids who grew up in the 70s who had the original trilogy.
Right, like my father.
Yeah, exactly. And people like us who grew up in the 90s, 90s, 2000s, where we had that trilogy. We had
the 1 through 3.
Yeah, which isn't as good.
I think 3 was pretty. I think 2 and 3 were pretty good.
I'm
One,
not as crazy about 2, or 1, but
well, 1 we can all agree was kind of the big disappointment, the biggest disappointment out of all of the Star Wars movies.
yes. But now we've got this new generation where not only is it Star Wars, but it's completely new cast, and the casting job by everybody, by whoever did the casting for The Force Awakens, what a great job. I mean, they did outstanding.
Harrison Ford's in it again as Han Solo, but don't Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill make appearances too?
They do, and I'm not going to give anything away about any of that. But Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill are in the movie.
I assume as Luke and Leia, correct?
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Leia is a commander in the movie,
and
not a princess.
Okay, so that's the
that's as close as I'll get to spelling anything.
Yeah.
But that's not really too important. But it's Leia. It's
right.
Leia. It's Leia. It's Luke. It's Han Solo. It's Chewbacca. I won't say Chewie's got a pretty solid role in it. It's just, I think the bad guy and what they've been doing with the dark side was really well done. It's really, I can't say too much without giving anything away, but go see this movie. I mean, if you have the time to see Star Wars, you should see it. This is one of the few movies that I can say, like I said, they've been hyping this up for so long, and to have it finally come out and to have it be as good as people thought, or as good as people were hoping, it makes me really happy for, first off, the fan that I can't remember his name, but the fan who died before the movie came out, and they let him see it before he died.
Oh yeah,
it makes me so happy for him that it was this good, and it makes me just. It really felt like the 2.5 hours or whatever it was that I was in the movie theater for. It just flew by. It was outstanding.
Yeah, I certainly look forward to seeing it. And I just have to say this one thing real quick. I didn't realize that the Star Wars franchise was based off of a book series until last Thanksgiving, so like last year.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was.
Well, I don't think this part is based off the book. I think this is all new material, and it's
really. You think so?
I think it is. Yeah.
I mean, I've never read any of the books.
Well, neither have I. But
so how can you say it's not based off?
Star Wars is meant to. I really feel like Star Wars was meant to be for the movies. Like it's based off of books, but nobody's like, you're not gonna be like, oh wow, you have to read the book before you see the movie.
Right. It's not that kind of movie franchise.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm sure
it's not like
I'm sure 95% of Star Wars fans have never even read or even heard of the books before.
I would agree.
But I mean, for all we know, it could be based off of what was in the book. I mean, we have no idea of knowing unless we actually decide to read the books. But I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to watch the movies.
Nope. No point in reading any of the books, really, at this point.
Right. But enough Star Wars talk. Enough being sci-fi nerds. Let's be sports nerds now. We kind of missed the Week 13 recap. It's 2 weeks old. Who cares?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And then we missed we did do the Week 14 preview though.
Right.
Well,
we did because.
Well, we didn't do it, but we'll just do the recap. I guess all is well, all is right with the world in New England. That's all I have to say. The Jets actually have a shot at making the playoffs.
And they
The
will.
Steelers are red hot, could overtake the Kansas City, or not the Kansas City, the Cincinnati Bengals for the AFC North crown.
Yep.
And the Chiefs are also really hot as well. And I believe if the Broncos lose out and then the Chiefs win out, I believe the Chiefs can win the AFC West. I don't think it will happen.
That's kind of a long shot, I feel.
But I think the Chiefs still have a shot at making the playoffs. It's really down to 3 teams in making the playoffs as a wild card. Of course, the AFC South is, I mean, the Jaguars are still in
which I love.
The AFC South.
It's awesome to see the Jaguars still. I mean, I don't care how bad the division is. I just think it's great that the Jaguars are still in it.
Right. But in terms of the battle for the 6th seed, it's really between 3 teams: the Jets, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. Right now, the Jets hold the tiebreaker. Yeah, they hold the tiebreaker. And
what is the tiebreaker in a situation like that? It's strength of schedule, isn't it? Or is it
strength of schedule or head-to-head? But I do have to say this. So Monday night when the Giants beat the Dolphins, the Patriots clinched the division, but I did not understand how the tiebreaker broke.
Right.
Or how the tiebreaker worked for the Patriots to clinch the division for the 7th straight year. But, I mean...
we get it. The Patriots are good.
Yeah. But, I mean, I don't understand how it worked out, but I'll take it. They probably would have clinched it anyway this week because all they needed to do was win this week, which they will. But, yes. So, the 2 wildcard spots, Kansas City is in the 5th seed. The Jets have the 6th seed, and the Steelers are on the outside looking in. All 3 of those teams are 8-5.
And the Steelers right now, how many games have the Bengals lost? They've lost 4 games now, or 3 games. So they're 2 games back of the Bengals. So that's kind of a long shot, but
I don't think so. I don't think it's a long shot. I mean, obviously, if the Bengals win one more game, or the Bengals actually need to win 2 more games, or maybe one, depending on the tiebreaker works.
I think it's 1 more game to win the division.
Well, no, I think it's 1 more game to clinch a playoff spot.
Well, the thing is,
they haven't clinched a playoff spot yet.
That's okay. Well, the thing is, I guess there's 3 weeks left in the season, right? So
yes,
if the Bengals are 10-3 and the Steelers are 8-5, I mean,
yes,
1 win would make it very unlikely that the Steelers win that division.
Well, it would depend on how the tiebreakers worked once again.
Yeah.
Because and I actually think the tiebreakers would break in the Steelers' favor.
Because
I'm not sure for certain, but I think they would break in the Steelers' favor if both teams finished 11-5. The Bengals, to make sure that they win the division, need to win 2 more games.
Right.
And Steelers obviously need to win out.
Right. That's probably to make the playoffs too, considering
right.
Other
and I think the Steelers will win out because I think they're going to beat the Broncos this week. They're going to beat they already beat the Bengals last week.
Right.
And I don't see, and then I think the Broncos are going to beat the Bengals next week. So right now, things are trending towards the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I know as a Patriots fan, the Steelers is really the only team in the AFC that I don't want to face in the playoffs because they are red hot.
Right.
Any other about the playoff hunt?
Nothing else really going on at this point. I mean, I think the Jets are going to make the playoffs at what are they, 8-5 now?
Yeah,
I
the
think
Jets, they need to win out. I feel like, especially with Pittsburgh, um, beating down their or breathing down their back, and I think
right,
that's going to be a tough one for the Jets because they play the Patriots next week, and then they play the Bills
right, but
17.
you have to
But
remember there are a few things that are going the Jets' way right now. They play
yeah,
the Cowboys this week, and I think there's no doubt the Jets are going to win that game. The
okay,
Patriots, I've always kind of marked on my calendar for the Jets possibly winning that game. I don't know if they're going to, but they
right.
could. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
They're
and I think with that game, a lot of it has to do with whether the Patriots have clinched everything. So if the Patriots clinch a home or first round bye this week with a win,
right,
and a Cincinnati or Denver loss, a Cincinnati loss or a Denver tie, which I think is going to happen.
right.
Um,
Well,
and
you
well,
mean
I think Cincinnati is going to lose.
really against the Niners?
Or wait, I think the Broncos are going to lose.
I think the
So
Broncos are going to lose
yeah, yes,
about the Cincinnati.
that's what I meant. That's what I meant. I think the
Okay.
Broncos are going to lose, not Cincinnati.
Right.
So the Patriots will probably clinch a first round bye this week. It depends if they want the home field advantage, which I think they could go for, which could mean trouble for the Jets.
But I still think the Jets would win the other two games, which I don't. I mean, I
Yeah,
think,
but I see, like I said, with the Steelers, I think the Steelers are going to win out, and I think the Jets need to win 11 games. I think the
I
Jets need
don't
to
know
win
about
out
that. I don't
to
know about
clinch
that.
the playoffs. Oh, let's take a look at the Chiefs' schedule, because that's the other team that the Jets are fighting for a playoff spot with.
Right.
Now, the Chiefs, they have Baltimore this week, which is
Wow, they have an
a
easy
win.
schedule to
They
close out.
have Browns next week, which is a win. And the toughest game is week 17 against the Raiders, which they could lose. But see, once again, I think that points to the Jets needing to win out.
It would be tough. It's not going to be easy, and I don't know if the Jets can win out, but I'll be interested to see.
Yeah, I don't think the Jets will be able to win out. I think they'll lose at least one game um, in the next 3 weeks. And I don't know what the tiebreakers are between the Jets and the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs own whatever
I believe
tiebreaker
they've
that
played
is.
this year, and I believe the Chiefs won. No, they haven't played this year. I got that wrong. But
Yeah,
either way,
yeah. So the AFC playoff picture is very interesting. The NFC playoff picture is pretty much set in stone. It's just a matter of seeding over there and who wins the NFC
well,
East.
yeah, I was gonna say there's one race, but not a lot of people want to talk
Right.
about it.
I mean it's the NFC East is the AFC South. I mean
A
it's
lot of
those.
teams
Except I
still
think
want
the NFC East is better than the AFC South.
they want to get that seed so they can play the NFC East winner because they know it'll be vulnerable. And I don't know who's going to win the NFC East. It's going to be really interesting to see.
I think Sean's going to like this, but I think the Redskins are going to win the
It
NFC
points towards
East.
the Redskins right
It
now.
does. It
It really
does.
does.
Because they own all the tiebreakers over Philadelphia and the Giants
Right.
as of right now. Believe the Redskins have to play the Giants again, I think.
I think they've
Or they play the Eagles and the Cowboys.
the Giants'
The last 2
schedule
weeks.
is very difficult because they've got the Panthers this week, who are obviously undefeated. They've got the Vikings next week, and it's a Sunday night game, I believe, or a Monday night game. I can't remember. Whatever the 27th is, and then they play the Eagles in what could be for the division. I don't know if they're going to win any of those games, to be honest.
Well,
they're all going to be tough, but I don't know if the Giants are going to win.
Remember this though: the Giants. This is right around the time where the Giants ratchet it up,
Yeah.
and they always make their run. And as a Patriot fan, that terrifies me because I want nothing to do with the Giants in the Super Bowl. The dream scenario is that they don't win the division and miss the playoffs.
And I think you're going to get that scenario, to be honest. I don't know what the Redskins' remaining schedule is, but I'm sure.
Well, the Redskins' remaining schedule is Buffalo this week. Then they have the Eagles in Philadelphia, and then they have the Cowboys in Dallas. So I think the Redskins' best case scenario, they finish 8-8. Could finish
best scenario 8-8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But they could win all those games. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
I don't know what to expect from the Eagles, to be honest, anymore. Like,
I have. See, that's why I say best. They'll probably go 8-8 because of I don't know what the hell is going to happen with the Eagles.
Right. It's interesting to see. I don't think the Giants are going to make it. I just think that they've had too many chances late in so many games. I don't know if you saw the stat, but there was one stat that said that it was before they won last week. That instead of being 4-7, they would have been. I think it was 11-2 if they.
Yeah, I saw that
ended 70 seconds earlier.
Yeah,
I just don't know. I just don't think that's gonna end up. I think that's gonna end up costing them.
Right, and also the Giants. They're behind both the Eagles and the Redskins in the tiebreaker too, which makes it even more difficult.
Right. And the Panthers aren't laying down this week. They're not.
No, I don't think they're going to lay down either. But the Giants, for whatever reason, they always have a knack for ending perfect seasons. Speaking from experience.
This is true. And I could very well. Why don't let's segue this? Let's segue this into the week preview here.
All right,
the 1 o'clock game here. Giants Panthers. I went back and forth on this one. I wasn't 100% sure whether the Panthers would win this one. I ended up picking the Panthers just because of the fact that they're 13-0 and to play it safe. But if the Giants win this game, would anybody really be surprised? I don't think so.
No. And I think a lot of people pegged this game as the game that the Panthers would lose.
Right. Myself included.
Yeah.
I said when they beat the Saints 2 weeks ago, I was like, the only game that they could possibly lose now is that game against the Giants.
Yeah.
And, I mean, for the rest of the regular season, in the playoffs, anything can happen. But in the rest of the regular season, I don't think this is the only game that the Panthers realistically could lose, because they're not going to lose to the Falcons next week, and they're not going to lose to the Bucs. So,
yeah,
I am going to stick with the Panthers in this one. But
the only way that I think the Panthers would lose a game if they don't lose Sunday to the Giants is if Ron Rivera decides to rest his guys, because if they win Sunday, I think they clinch everything.
No, they need to win on Sunday, and they need Arizona to lose.
Okay, right.
I don't think it's going to happen, but like I said, we'll get to that game in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I'm going to keep it safe and go with the Panthers, just because you can't really bank against a team that's 13-0. But like I said, Giants could win this game easily.
Yeah, we don't have Sean's picks except for a select few that I kind of assumed.
Right. Like the Redskins.
Right. And the Cowboys game.
Right.
Which, yeah. And so, yeah, to me, I mean, it's in MetLife Stadium. And how many times have we seen a Tom Coughlin-led Giants team go on a run late in the season to make the playoffs?
A lot.
So right now I can't pick against the Giants, especially when they're at home late in the season and they're in a playoff race. So I'm going to pick the Giants.
All right.
But let's before we go on to the rest of our picks, let's talk about the Heinz Condiment Bowl
Condiment
last
Bowl.
night between the St. Louis Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sean and I picked the Rams. The Rams won, and the Buccaneers lost. It ended up being a close game in the end, but started out a blowout.
I didn't watch any of this game.
I didn't watch any of it either.
I have no interest in either of these teams. I could care less where the Rams play next year, to be honest.
Yeah. So both Sean and I are 1-0 this week. Sean was 14-2 last week. He was on fire.
Yeah, good for him. Good for the kid.
Yeah, he's finally in triple-digit wins now at 104 and 107.
This is pretty much all he has now because his fantasy team didn't make the playoffs, so he's got to catch up.
Yeah. So that's our picks for last night. And then we have tomorrow night's game,
which I totally forgot about. I keep forgetting this game is on Saturday.
Yeah, the Jets at the Cowboys. I think I know, Brian, you said you have no doubt that the Jets will win this game, but I don't know, something tells me that this is a classic Jets letdown game.
Right. But you haven't seen the Cowboys in the last couple of weeks. They're really, really, really bad.
Yeah, but didn't they actually win a game with a backup quarterback recently?
Yeah, they won a game against the Redskins, but the Redskins aren't as good as the Jets are this year, I don't think.
Yeah, but
I mean,
if it was in MetLife, listen. If it was at MetLife Stadium, I'll probably be on your side and saying that the Jets probably won't lose, but it's in Dallas.
Dallas is to play.
And I mean, I picked the Jets. So I'm not saying that the Jets are going to lose. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as you think. I think the Cowboys are going to give the Jets some trouble.
I mean, we'll see, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I picked the Jets to win, so I'm not saying the Jets.
I didn't say that you weren't against me. I just said that I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that this seems like it could be a little bit of a little tougher game than you think.
I mean, yeah, that is true.
Next game, you have the Titans at the Patriots. Patriots are going to wrap up a first-round bye this week with a win. There's not much you can talk about this game. I hope Julian Edelman does not play this week because we don't need him against the Titans. Really, I would not be upset if he doesn't come back until the playoffs because I honestly don't think the Patriots need him until the playoffs. Maybe if you want to get him some game action next week against the Jets, go for it. But I don't want to see Julian Edelman on the field this week.
Good to know.
Yeah, you have the Patriots, right, Brian?
Yeah, I have nothing to say about that game.
Yeah, I'm just going to assume Sean has the Patriots too because it's against the Titans.
Titans
next,
be damn terrible.
Yeah. Next game, we have the Chicago Bears at the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings bounce back with a win.
I'm going to go with Minnesota in this one too. This could also be a good game, but I think Minnesota will win at home.
Yeah. And then next game, we have the Falcons at the Jaguars. I just haven't this. We were talking about this game before. This is a total toss-up game,
right?
Because the Falcons they've lost they've lost 7 of their last 8 games.
Right.
They've been absolutely terrible. But again, it's against the Jaguars. But the Jaguars put up a 50-burger on the Colts last week. even
Yeah,
though the Colts defense is terrible. This game is just hard to make heads or tails of. If the Falcons were to break their losing streak, it would be this week. Um,
I know multiple Falcons fans who just don't think they're going to win any games the rest of the season, and I feel like that's kind of the mindset of all Falcons fans at this point, and probably the Falcons players, because that rubs off. And I
yeah.
think that the Jaguars are, they're right in the middle of this or the AFC South, and I'd like to see them win it. So I'm going with the Jaguars.
Hey, Brian, remember at the halfway point of the season, I said Dan Quinn could be the coach of the year.
Yeah, no, definitely not. They need
Yeah,
to hire. They need to give them a completely new coaching staff. First off, I mean, those guys just don't know what they're doing.
yeah. I mean, it's how do you start the season off 5-0 and then lose 7 of your next 8 games?
Nobody knows. Absolutely nobody knows.
So I originally had the Falcons, but I'm gonna go with the Jaguars because the Jaguars at home, they're feeling really good about themselves after a big win over the Colts last week. Yeah, so I think the Jaguars are gonna win and
Yeah,
give her a run at that AFC South title.
I'd
Speak,
love to see the Jaguars back in the playoffs. That's all I have to say.
yeah, because it'll be an easy win for whoever has the 5 seed.
Right, exactly.
Next game, speaking of the AFC South, it's the battle of the two leaders in the AFC South, the Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. Texans have been playing well despite struggling and losing last week to the Patriots. But the Colts, they look like a mess. They've lost 2 in a row, gave up 50 spots to the Jaguars last week. Things are trending towards the Texans this week, despite the game being in Indy.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Texans in this one. I just think the Texans this year are a better team than the Colts. Whether it's just a disaster in Indianapolis, and I don't think making the playoffs would help them at all.
No, it wouldn't. And
so I'm going with the Texans.
Does anyone know what's up with Andrew Luck? When is he coming back?
Nobody knows. That's the other thing. It's like a complete mystery as to when Andrew Luck's coming back.
Yeah, that's
Matt
an odd situation there.
Matt Hasselbeck's magic has completely worn off.
Yeah.
Whatever he was doing, it's not working anymore. So hard to pick against the Texans, I feel, in this one. I'm going with them.
Yeah, even with TJ Yates at quarterback this week.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, and Brian, remember when you said that the Colts would win the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I feel dumb for that now. But then you have to remember, at the time, they had Andrew Luck, and they were looking good, and things just haven't worked out that way.
I mean, yeah, the Colts have had some injuries, but I mean, everyone thought that they were, or you especially thought that once they got Andre Johnson that they were going to the Super Bowl. I didn't buy that for a second. So, what was you, I guess, for picking the Colts? We talked about Panthers, Giants. Now we have Bills, Redskins. Redskins, they had a golden opportunity last week to take a stranglehold on the NFC East, but they lose to the Cowboys at home.
No, but they beat the Bears last week.
Okay, well, 2 weeks ago, they had a golden opportunity to take a stranglehold on the NFC East. Let that one slip. Bounce back last week with a win against the Bears. They host the Bills this week. The Redskins play well at home, and the Bills' offense just isn't that good.
Yeah,
so I'm going with the Redskins.
I'm definitely going with the Redskins in this one too. Stay on pace to win the NFC East, which almost seemed completely hard to believe, if you told somebody that at the start of the season. But here we are, and I'm going to go with the Redskins to win this week, and I think they're going to hold on and win the division too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
but can't count those Giants out
Neither.
as much
Yeah.
as it hates me to say.
And I'd like to see the Giants win the NFC East, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
And then next we have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Baltimore Ravens. Who would have thought that once they lost Jamal Charles for the rest of the season, that the Chiefs would currently hold the 5th seed in the AFC, and they are in great position to clinch a playoff spot. I'm going to the Chiefs. Things are going well for Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs as well. Not much debate in this one.
Ravens also just suck this year.
Yeah, and I'm going with the Chiefs.
Next game, we have the Browns at Seahawks. Not a lot to say here other than that the Seahawks will win. But I think the Seahawks, they got off to a slow start, but I think they've been very generous or been very fortunate for how their schedule played out in terms of they're closing out their season with a lot of teams that aren't very good.
That is 100% true. They've got the Rams next week. They played the Browns this week, and they played, who was it? The Ravens last week. But even then, they did beat the Vikings and the Steelers, who are both playoff teams or
Right.
or fighting for playoff spots. I think the Seahawks right now are red hot. And honestly, I think they're gunning for the Panthers. You have to remember the Panthers beat the Seahawks in Seattle, which only happens once in a blue moon. So I think they want to return the favor. I think they want to go into Charlotte and beat the Panthers. So I think that's been some of their motivation. I don't know if that's going to happen, but they will make the playoffs. They'll probably be the 5 seed, and they're going to beat the Browns this week.
Yeah, they're going to beat the Browns this week. The Rams, I think they're going to win next week, but I don't think that will be an easy game because the Rams divisional game, those are always tough, and also the Rams play the Seahawks well.
Yeah, they won earlier,
and I think they're going to lose to, but I think they're going to lose to Arizona.
Possibly. It depends on if Arizona has everything clinched. They may rest some guys. It depends on, at that point, everything may be set for all we know.
Next game, we have the Packers at the Raiders.
The Raiders.
The Packers are going to win.
Yeah, I think the Packers should win this one pretty easily, even though it's in Oakland. I'm not sure if this is the Raiders' last home game, but it could also be the Raiders' last home game in Oakland. Or I don't think it's their last home game, but this could be one of the Raiders' last games. They have 2 more games in Oakland, so their time could be running out there. But I still think the Packers will win this one.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we have the Broncos at the Steelers. I'm going with the Steelmen. Beating the Broncos, given that the Patriots the home field advantage or first round bye.
I think that the Steelers are going to win this game because it's in Pittsburgh, and there's a lot of intrigue right now about the Denver Broncos because apparently Peyton Manning is practicing, and
yeah,
if Peyton Manning's practicing, that makes me think that they're getting ready to bring him back, and I don't know if that's the best thing to do right now. Peyton Manning led the league in interceptions, and he still does.
Right.
And
despite it being out for the last, 5 weeks?
Not 5 weeks, but he's been out for
4 weeks.
And I just think they should just stick with Brock Osweiler and, groom him because I think Brock Osweiler should be the future. They should just bring him back and not Peyton Manning.
Yeah, but
I don't know if they're going to do that.
There's definitely a quarterback controversy brewing down in Denver. Potentially, Brock Osweiler, while he's played well at times, has certainly not been setting the world on fire.
Right.
But also, I mean, really, at this point, I think Brock Osweiler would still be better than Peyton Manning. I mean,
And
both aren't playing pretty well, but at least Brock Osweiler protects the football.
I would agree.
And that's the most important thing in the playoffs,
Just
is being able to protect the football.
Just roll with Brock and see where it gets you. That's what I'm saying.
Next, we have the Dolphins at the Chargers. The Chargers, I know they're a better team than 3-10, but literally nothing has gone their way.
Yeah.
They don't have a defense. Their offense is frustrating at times. I mean, they only scored 3 points last week against Kansas City.
They've scored 6 points combined the last 2 weeks.
And they only gave up 10 to Kansas City last week, so that's a game that they should have won if they had.
They only gave up 17 to the Denver Broncos, too.
Any semblance of an offense.
Right.
But right now they're playing like the BC Eagles right now on offense, and that's nothing. So I'm going with the Dolphins, and as a Danny Woodhead owner and someone that traded Doug Martin for Danny Woodhead, it frustrates the hell out of me that the Chargers offense is doing nothing.
It's so anemic. I'm going to go with the Dolphins in this one. It's an ugly game and another one that could be the last Charger game in San Diego. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins in this one.
All right, next game we have the Bengals at the 49ers. I made this point before the show, but a Alabama quarterback has not started and won a game in 28 years.
Yep.
And I think it continues this week. I think the Niners are going to pull off the upset at home against the Bengals.
Not so fast. I'm going to stick with A.J. McCarron, and I think he's a solid quarterback. I was surprised he got drafted so low, to be honest. I always felt he had kind of a poise to him that not a lot of other quarterbacks do have. And I just think the Bengals overall are a better team than the Niners. So I'm going to go Cincinnati.
I mean, this was a game that I definitely flip-flopped on a couple of times.
I just don't think the Niners. I mean, the Niners, while they've been playing better towards the end of the season, I just think that Cincinnati, I think they want to wrap everything up.
Yeah, and also AJ McCarron he threw for over 250 yards.
Right.
No
pushover. AJ McCarron's not a pushover.
Yeah, so he played well last week, filling in for Andy Dalton, and that was against the Steelers team also.
Right.
So maybe I'll switch my pick to the
Something
Bengals.
to consider, at least.
Yeah, we'll see. Right now, I'm gonna switch it. And then next game we have the Cardinals at the Eagles. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals.
Their defense is outstanding.
They've proven this year that they're not your father's Arizona Cardinals, and that they can win on the East Coast and on the road. So I'm going with Arizona.
I mean, we fell victim to this year also, but people kind of forgot about the Cardinals coming into this year. I mean, they were good. They were good last year, and they only fell apart because they went through 4 quarterbacks.
Right.
All their quarterbacks kept getting hurt. But now you have Carson Palmer, who can still play and can still sling it, healthy. And on top of that, and you have Larry Fitzgerald and
who's been great.
Right. And on top of that, you have David Johnson, the running back, as well. And you have that fantastic defense. Plus, the Eagles are not very good. Right. Even though they've won the last 2 weeks. I'm
still going.
Making things interesting in the NFC East. I'm still going with the Cardinals because the Cardinals are they're above and beyond a better team than the Eagles. But then again, we said that when they played the Patriots 2 weeks ago, so who knows?
This is true.
And that game was in Foxborough, too, so.
Yep.
And then finally, wrapping up the week, we have the Lions at the New Orleans Saints. I have the Saints winning this one.
Yeah, I kind of went back and forth on this one too because it's a really crappy game. But I'm going with the Saints as well because it's in New Orleans. Just an ugly season for both of these teams, really. The Saints are still in contention for a playoff spot technically, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
They'll probably be eliminated by the time this game even kicks off. So I'm going with the Saints to win this one, though.
All right. Well, and if you were wondering, Sean had Rams, which was a win. Jets, Patriots. Oh, I assume Patriots. Redskins, Chiefs, Seahawks, Packers were his picks. That I assume.
Sounds about right for Sean.
Yeah. All right. Next up, before we move on to Pete Rose, let's talk about the Color Rush uniforms since we had the final edition gloriously last night. What they should do moving forward, because we know they're going to have Color Rush uniforms again next year.
Probably every week, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be every week next year. Every team that plays on Thursday is going to have new, stupid, ugly-looking uniforms.
Well, I wouldn't say they were all stupid or ugly looking.
Right. The Cowboys weren't bad. The
Cowboys and the Panthers got it right. That was the only game I would say that got it 100% right. I thought that both of those uniforms were great. Some uniforms, we were talking about this, would look better if they weren't all the same color.
Right.
Just had different pants.
Yeah, if they had white pants or something.
Right. Like I could see last night, like we were talking about this. I thought the Rams jerseys were a little too gold, but that goes to putting on white pants over it. I think it would have been fine that way.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think a lot of the uniforms, the Color Rush uniforms, would have looked fine if they weren't monochrome.
Right.
If they had white pants. We had a couple of condiment games. First, we had relish versus ketchup with the Bills and Jets.
Right, yeah.
And then last night, we finished up with the ketchup versus mustard. But, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. I saw someone posted on Facebook saying that they should do a Throwback Thursdays, which I absolutely love. I think that would be fantastic. The only problem is that the NFL has the stupid helmet rule, which, I mean...
Why did they even invent that?
They made that rule to make it appear that they cared about concussions, which they don't really care about still.
But how does
it's just a farce.
How does that have anything to do with what logo is on the helmet? I don't really get that.
No, it's not the logo. It's the color.
Right.
Because, like, when, for example, when the Patriots wore their Pat Patriot throwback, they had the white helmets with the Pat Patriot logo on. And Tom Brady usually wears a Riddell standard-looking helmet. That's his normal helmet that he wears, on the silver one. But when he wore the white Pat Patriot helmet, it was the Revo look and brand and style. So the helmets are styled differently, and also each helmet is fitted to each player's head specifically. Right. But the NFL doesn't realize that, what if a player is traded mid-season, which happens rarely, or a player is cut and is picked up by another team? They have to change helmets and be refitted for a new helmet.
Right.
So that doesn't matter. It's just the NFL trying to make it look like they care about preventing concussions and head safety, but they don't really care. It's just they're just being assholes.
Will Smith proved it.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think throwback uniforms would be great on a throwback Thursday moving forward.
That would be a
Uh,
good idea. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but
yeah,
that's
and
a
then
good idea.
finally, before we move on to Pete Rose, buy or sell
Yes,
the Chargers, Rams, or Raiders moving to LA.
I'm buying it because one of them has to move. I mean, this season's just been so disastrous for them in their home cities. The Rams clearly need a new owner if they want to stay in St. Louis, and they're not going to get that. Stan Kroenke seems adamant that the Rams move to LA. Like he does, he seems like he hates St. Louis, and it seems like St. Louis hates him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw some of the signs at the game last night, but they
No, but I saw that no one showed up for the fan appreciation.
the ones who
game.
did show up last night were chanting, keep, just like chanting things, keep the Rams, things like that.
Right.
And I just don't know. I just don't really see much of a scenario in which the Rams don't move to Los Angeles. That doesn't mean St. Louis won't get another football team, because then St. Louis would probably be the top city to potentially expand to if the NFL chooses to do that. But
I don't see the NFL looking to expand anytime soon.
right,
The 32 teams is already a lot, and it's already pretty much the cap number on number of teams in a league.
it also seems to me like the Chargers are out too. Like it just seems like they just have no intentions of staying in San Diego.
This is another thing. Didn't the Chargers come out early this season saying that they applied for a relocation, and they haven't won a game since they made that
Won one
announcement?
game against the Jaguars. That's the only game they've won since then.
Well, I think they were playing the Jaguars that week that they announced it, and ever since that week,
That's the only win they have since then is the
no.
Jaguars.
But when did they beat the Jaguars?
A couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Just 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. My bad.
Okay.
But that is their only win since then. They've lost every game since San Diego announced that they were filing for relocation. And it just seems like they're completely out of their city, too. Oakland obviously wants to keep the Raiders as much as they can. It's all these teams just set up perfectly to move. So I just don't see any scenario in which there isn't at least one team playing in Los Angeles next season.
And also, all three teams, if they moved, it wouldn't create havoc on the way that the league is structured in terms of divisions,
right,
and divisional alignment.
right. As opposed to another team from like another division that isn't in the West already moving.
Right, but I think if the Chargers are moving, then I don't think the Raiders are going to move.
Yeah, I agree.
Or vice versa, because, I mean, we already have two teams that share a stadium, but they're in separate leagues or separate conferences, the Jets and the Giants. So if there are two teams in LA, I think it's going to be the Raiders and the Rams, like it used to be in the 80s.
Or the Chargers and the Rams.
Or the Chargers and the Rams.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I think the Rams are actually going to stay, because I think there was a proposal that came out for a new stadium in downtown St. Louis for the Rams.
Right.
And that's going to be key in keeping the Rams in St. Louis.
Right.
And it's honestly, a new stadium is going to be key in keeping any team.
Right.
But
the Raiders need to figure out, and the Raiders need to figure out where they'd play too. I know they're really against sharing a stadium with the 49ers, but that may honestly be something they should consider.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they might have to do that at least temporarily.
Right.
Because, I mean, the Coliseum's a dump.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, no.
I've
I
been
don't
there.
mean if they were to move to LA. I mean if they were to stay in
No,
Oakland.
I know.
Sorry. I thought you meant the LA Coliseum. My bad.
No, I'm talking about the Oakland
Oakland
Coliseum.
Coliseum. Yeah, I just think it's something they should at least consider. But
Yeah, no, I think
Raiders are just like the Raiders do not like the 49ers, but it's something they should at least consider.
yeah, at least temporarily until they can get a new stadium.
Yeah.
Whether that's in LA or Oakland or anywhere else in the Bay Area.
Right.
Um, and the Chargers, I, I don't know. I
Yeah.
think the Chargers, I guess, since they already applied for relocation, they're probably the front runners to move to LA at this point.
Yeah. I would think so too.
But it's not gonna it's not gonna be for next year. I think we'll have it. We might have a team in LA in 2 years.
We'll see.
All right, now this is kind of our wild card topic. Pete Rose denied reinstatement into Major League Baseball, um, but I've been listening to the radio a little bit, and there are some differing opinions on that.
Well,
I mean,
there's always differing opinions about Pete Rose, aren't there?
yeah, I mean, I think Major League Baseball was right to ban him from future MLB events or games,
Right.
um, especially since he continues to lie and hasn't shown uh, any glimmer
Remorse.
of change.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what I knew that
but I still think that I think Pete Rose should be banned from everything else, but I think he should be made eligible to go into the Hall of Fame because the way he played baseball was Hall of Fame worthy. He played 110%, 100% of the time.
right.
I mean, his nickname was Charlie Hustle. He's the Major League Baseball all-time hits leader. And I think Barry Bonds will eventually get into the Hall of Fame too, and I think Pete Rose should also
I
be made at least eligible for the Hall of Fame instead, because something just bothers me about having both the all-time hits leader and all-time home run king not in the Hall of Fame because they were the best players of their time, of their generation, one of the best players in baseball history, and it's weird to me. And I mean,
but
at first I was on Barry Bonds. At least I was all against Barry Bonds going to the Hall of Fame, but I've evolved my thinking because I'm looking back at Barry Bonds' career and before 1997 or 98, which was around the time that he started taking steroids or performance enhancing drugs. Up until that point, his stats were already Hall of Fame worthy. So that's why I think Barry Bonds should go into the Hall of Fame, and that's why if I ever get a vote and he's on the ballot, I would vote for him.
See, the thing about it for me is baseball is about integrity.
Right.
And everybody preaches integrity with baseball.
But I mean the way that Pete Rose played the game though as a player
was incredible.
Was screamed everything about integrity.
I understand that.
On the field at least.
His actions off the field, and same with Barry Bonds, are just not worthy enough for me to put him in the Hall of Fame. And the thing about Pete Rose is when I knew Pete Rose wasn't going to get into the Hall of Fame again, or at least while Rob Manfred was deliberating on it, was when he released that commercial where he's like, "I can't get into the Hall." Like I knew that when that came out that Manfred was going to see that and he was going to say no, because it just shows that he doesn't take it seriously at all to me.
Yeah, that was dumb on Rose's
And
part.
and Pete Rose, the other thing about Pete Rose, and people may not know this, people I'm sure noticed it, but during this year's World Series, he left the broadcast after I think it was game 3 or 4 of the World Series and didn't come back. And everybody was confused as to why. It turned out he had trade shows to go to
In Las Vegas.
in Vegas. And
Yeah, I knew about that.
that was another sign for me. Pete Rose is not he didn't deserve to be in, because what's more important in baseball than the World Series? Nothing. So, and to Pete Rose, what was more important was signing these autographs and making money off of it.
Yeah,
So,
I think Pete Rose. I think the reason that Pete Rose didn't get reinstated is all because of him. I
yeah,
mean, he was dumb about it. He didn't take it seriously, as you said. But
he needs to be smarter than he is. I just
right.
don't think he's smart. Like,
I mean, I don't think he'll never get into the Hall of Fame at this point. But I think there's an argument to be made to at least put his name on the ballot. And who knows, if you put his name on the ballot, I mean, there's no guarantee that he'll get elected. I mean, the voters may not even vote him in. So
that's very true.
I mean, the vote. I mean, I think Major League Baseball should at least leave him eligible to be put on the ballot by the Baseball Writers Association of America. Um,
It's a debate that'll go on
yeah,
until it actually happens. I don't know
right.
when it's going to actually happen. I can't say for sure if Pete Rose is ever going to get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, I'm not surprised that he wasn't reinstated, but I've heard arguments that. I mean, yeah, ban him from everything else that's related to baseball, but um, put at least maybe put him on the ballot.
Right.
Um, so I mean that's where I think I definitely see that argument and kind of agree with it.
Right.
Um, moving on now, Bo Ryan retired abruptly from the University of Wisconsin, uh, effective immediately. So he's already done with this season of college basketball. He's done coaching college basketball, and it leaves Wisconsin in a very interesting spot with their program. Obviously, this is a down year, losing a bunch of key players to graduation in their
Like
draft,
Frank
and
the Tank.
Frank Kaminsky and someone else too that his name escapes me.
I have no idea.
He was a 3-point shooter. He was a small white
All I
guy.
remember from last year's Wisconsin team was Frank the Tank.
Yeah. Um,
But Bo
so
Ryan is already in the Basketball Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken, and
I think he is. Yeah.
yeah, and he deserves it. I think a lot of people are just confused as to why all of a sudden he retired. Like, they said he was going to retire at the end of the season, right?
Right. Yeah.
So why, now? And I just don't get that, to me. Does something happen? I'm sure we'll find out. But I
Yeah.
wonder
May,
if something happened.
maybe it's health reasons, or maybe he just lost the passion for coaching
Right. And as a
basketball, which
UConn
happened.
fan, I wanted Jim Calhoun to retire after they won the national championship. And I'm wondering if Paul Ryan was thinking, man,
You
last year.
mean Bo Ryan?
Not Paul Ryan. God damn it.
I mean, they're both from Wisconsin, so
Right.
I can see that
It's so
someone making
confusing,
that mistake.
right? One syllable guy named from Wisconsin named Ryan. It's just too confusing. But the thing about Bo Ryan is, I feel like last year's run would have been a good run to go out with. And I think he might have realized that. That might have been his reasoning.
Yeah.
And I think
Maybe.
he left it too late. That's what I'm saying. But
I don't know. I mean, I think it's legitimately just the fact that he lost the passion for coaching,
right.
which happens, and I think he thought, hey, I mean, I lost the passion for coaching. It's not fair to these kids. to continue coaching them this year if I'm not passionate about it anymore. I'm not helping them. I'm not helping the program, and I'm not helping myself. And so I think maybe that's why Bo Ryan decided to step away.
Right. I was interested to see it. Like, I was wondering if he was like afraid some like scandal was upcoming.
I don't think
No, Wisconsin
scandal.
seems to be one of the cities that are not cities,
upstanding
programs that will usually stay away from something like that.
Yeah, or at least keep it on the down low.
Yeah, definitely.
And now I guess it's onto a walk-off. Brian, you have a walk-off?
Yeah, I want to give a shout-out to LeBron James. Ethan, I'm sure you know the story.
Yeah, it's a great story.
The kid
it was on the news last night.
Yeah, I was at the car dealership yesterday, and I got to see this kid, Aaron Miller, and his mother get interviewed on SportsCenter. They told Aaron Miller that he would never walk or talk, and he's on the junior varsity team at his high school. It's the junior varsity golf team at his high school.
Yeah.
And he got honored at the Boston Celtics game the other night. And LeBron James actually went out of his way to go shake this kid's hand and tell him that he was an inspiration to him. And I thought that was awesome. David Lee from the Celtics, who's one of my favorite NBA players of all time, gave him a jersey as well, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, and I
gave him his shoes.
I think he was wearing David Lee's jersey.
Yeah.
At the game. And yeah, like you said, LeBron gave the kid his shoes, and actually LeBron said that he noticed that the kid was wearing a special version of LeBron's shoe.
Yeah, I saw that.
The Velcro strap, because a special modification for his disability.
Right.
Yeah, I saw it was all over the news here, and as a Celtics fan and someone that's not crazy about LeBron, and there's nothing you can do but give him props for that. I mean, I think
LeBron.
gesture.
I'd like to say that when LeBron went to Miami, I thought there was nothing he could do to ever repair his image in my mind. But I think since he's come back to Cleveland, he has done things that have helped repair kind of the image that the decision left behind. And I think this is one of those things. I think LeBron James is obviously very, he's still, like I've said in the past, I have no idea what it's like to be a professional athlete, let alone one of LeBron James's stature. But LeBron James has never had a normal life. And that's something I think a lot of people need to keep in mind when they criticize him. Like, LeBron James has always been an athlete.
He's like Tiger Woods almost.
Yeah, the people like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Derek Jeter, people like that. These guys have been athletes their entire lives, and they don't know anything else. So when people criticize LeBron James, it always kind of bugged me about. That was one of the things that always kind of bugged me because we have no idea. But I think LeBron James absolutely deserves to be praised for this. Good for him. Good for the Celtics too for what they did to him.
Yeah, he was named a hero among us,
which is awesome.
And they usually do that for military personnel,
right?
But this time they did it for Aaron Miller, who was a gold medalist on the Special Olympics team,
right?
And it was his Special Olympics team MVP.
And I don't praise Boston teams a lot, but they definitely deserve praise for doing that in the first place. So good thing for the Celtics, good thing for LeBron James, good for Aaron Miller. Awesome story. That's all I really have to say.
Yep. My walk-off is, and I know, at least on this show, we try to stay away from politics, but I just have to say this. Now, I, in no way, shape, or form, am a Donald Trump supporter. I think his policies are abhorrent, and disgraceful and just awful.
Right.
But obviously, Tom Brady and him are friends and play golf together and
Let me
have
ask you this
supported each other.
you go on. I'm just wondering, does it bother you in any way, shape, or form that Tom Brady is this close with Donald Trump?
Um,
Because I feel like if Derek Jeter started playing golf with Donald Trump, I'd be pissed.
it concerns me somewhat. Um, but I mean, then again, like he's a human being. He can
You can vote
be friends with whoever he wants.
and
I'm actually gonna get to more of that
right.
in my walk off. But I mean, so anyway,
Sorry to interrupt.
moving on. I mean, really, Dan Wetzel of Yahoo Sports wrote a great article the other night, basically saying, why does Tom Brady have to talk about his relationship with Trump? And I agree 100%. Now, I don't agree with Donald Trump. I don't support Donald Trump. I don't agree with any of his policies. I think it would make a horrible president. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Tom Brady has to think the same way either.
Well,
So,
if you think Tom Brady's the only NFL player that supports Donald Trump, then you're also wrong.
Right.
That's one thing.
And also, I don't think Tom Brady necessarily supports Donald Trump as a presidential candidate. He's never flat out endorsed. Listen before you speak, Brian.
Okay, go on. But I think there's evidence that says otherwise. That hat in his locker.
I'm going to explain everything.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't make assumptions, and you do a terrible job with interrupting.
All right.
But he's never flat out explicitly said that he supports Donald Trump as a presidential candidate. All he said is that he's a friend of his and he supports his friends. Now, he leaves that open-ended, leaving people to run wild with their imagination on to what that actually means, and have left people assuming that he flat out endorses Donald Trump, which isn't true. He's never endorsed him officially, or that he supports Donald Trump. And then there's people like me who are level-headed, don't let their imaginations run wild just based off of a soundbite taken out of context, or make assumptions based off of circumstantial evidence like the hat in his locker, which, by the way, I think the hat itself is, I mean, if it wasn't for Donald Trump making that his slogan, I might have bought that hat. I mean, that's a great slogan.
But there's nothing wrong with America, I don't think. There's not there's problems with America, but
right.
Donald Trump's reasoning behind why he wants to make America great again is completely flawed.
Right, yes. I mean, I agree with that. And like I said, if it had no ties to Donald Trump whatsoever, I think it's an awesome hat. But anyway, so I don't think Tom Brady necessarily agrees with everything that Donald Trump stands for. He supports him as a friend, and I'm not going to make assumptions that he supports him more than just a friend, as in a presidential candidate. And even if he does, am I disappointed if he does? Yeah, I wish he wouldn't support Donald Trump. But then again, he can make his own decisions. He's an adult. He can be friends with whoever he wants. And he doesn't have to speak out against Donald Trump. And he doesn't have to speak for in support of Donald Trump. He doesn't have to talk about Donald Trump whether he supports him as a presidential candidate or not. It's his opinion. He doesn't want to share his opinion. That's fine with me, and I don't think the media should try and dig it out of him. And I think the media should just leave him alone in terms of that, in terms of where his political party or where his political loyalty lies. We know where his loyalty as a friend lies, and that's with Donald Trump, who supported him during Deflategate, and I think Tom Brady is returning the favor to Donald now, and I think it's nothing more than that. I think he just supports him as a friend, and I'm not going to make any other assumptions otherwise. And neither should anyone else.
I just think that the hat is enough proof that you need. The fact that hat's been in his locker all season is just, I mean...
You know how he got the hat? Donald Trump gave it to
him. But he hasn't taken it from his locker. He's left it there.
Have you been in the Patriots locker?
No.
Have you watched?
Isn't it still there? I mean, isn't that what people think?
I have no clue. I don't think it is, because Tom Brady, whenever he does press conferences, he never does it at his locker, other than in that one instance.
I just think the fact that he has the hat is just evidence to me. That's what
it was a gift. It was a gift. And like I said, Brian, you can't make assumptions.
Well, I don't think Tom Brady's the only person who supports Donald Trump in the NFL, but I just think that he's the most high profile, and he needs to be aware of that.
But you know what? Michael Jordan took a similar stance in the 90s in regards to that racist senator.
Right.
He didn't say anything. He didn't want to get involved in it, and I think Tom Brady is doing the same and has every right to not want to talk about it or get into it. And I don't think that media should try and force him into talking about something that he doesn't want to talk about. Do I wish he said something when he was being interviewed on radio in regards to not agreeing with his policies? Yeah, I do. As a
He's
Democrat,
being vague, isn't he?
But he is being vague, and it's making people go wild with it, which is driving me nuts. I mean, people need to be more level-headed about these things, and that's what's driving me crazy. Is that the media needs to be more level-headed, stop making assumptions. This is basically what happened in Deflategate with all these erroneous reports flying like bullets in battle. I mean, the media needs to do a much better job. They can't start running with things until they have confirmation. People need to be more like Dan Wetzel of Yahoo Sports and just take a chill pill. I mean, for God's sake, the man can support whoever he wants. We may not agree with it. I certainly don't agree with it. I don't like Donald Trump. I think he's an idiot and an asshole. But that doesn't mean that as a person or as a friend he is. I mean, Tom Brady certainly doesn't think he's an asshole as a friend.
So you support whoever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would like to hear what Tom Brady has to say about.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked him to say something different than what he said. I would have liked him to say, "Hey, you know what? I support Donald Trump as a friend. He's a great friend of mine, but I don't agree with him on his policy in regards to Muslims." I wish he said that, but he didn't. And it's his decision to say that or not say that, and I'm fine with it. He doesn't have to say anything about it. He's just trying to stick up for his friend, and there's nothing more to it. And like I said, people shouldn't assume otherwise and make a bigger deal out of it than it really needs to be. And it's not a big deal. And
I agree.
It's just getting blown out of proportion.
I would agree.
But with that is the end of this edition of the Sports Pulse. The Pulse Awakens. We leave you off with what Star Wars theme song did we
The ending theme.
agree upon? Yeah, the ending theme to the Return of the Jedi, or just all Star Wars movies.
Isn't it the same thing? Like the.
Yeah. We'll start with that one. We'll leave off with that one. Thanks for listening, everyone, and may the Force be with you.
I like it.